Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Church of Evanston. I'm Steve Serikaku. Whether this is your spiritual home or you are newly discovering this community, we are grateful to share this time together. We strive to be an inclusive and welcoming community, seeking truth and love and nurturing the human spirit for a world made whole. We are guided by our principles and values, which remind us in every moment and through every challenge that each of us is worthy of love, and we are all connected through the vast and beautiful web of existence. We come together to remember our kinship with one another and to hold one another in heart and mind with tenderness and careful attention, and to dedicate ourselves more fully to living our shared values. People of all ages are welcome, an important part of our faith community. We are blessed to have the children in the sanctuary for the first half of every service and the entire service for all ages about once a month. The nest in the front is our designated area for families with young children, where we have quiet fidget toys and activities and a kid-friendly order of service. Nursery care is available in room 11 every Sunday. As part of being a welcoming and inclusive community, we have some information posted on the screen that will help orient you to UCE and our service. A few announcements. The Giving House is a beautiful wooden house in the lobby where we collect non-perishable foods for a C&W Market food pantry, a Black-owned business in Evanston. You can donate any of the following items at any time: beans, canned meat like tuna, rice, pasta, cereal, or soup. This is a great service opportunity for families with young children. Ellie Fedderson or John Van Dyke can answer any questions. Our Immigrant Solidarity Team is collecting new winter clothing for local refugees with Refugee One. Drop off jackets, boots, mittens, gloves, hats, and scarves in the bins under the coat racks in the lobby until noon on October 20th. Please plan to join the Evanston Pro-Choice Rally and March next Sunday, October 15th at noon at Raymond Park to support women who need our help. Wear hot pink and comfy shoes, bring signs, loud voices, and please spread the word. During kinship time, information about the event will be available at the back tables with an opportunity to offer volunteer and financial assistance. After the service today, we hope you'll stay for the cabaret concert in support of the Music Fund. Enjoy wonderful music by our 3 choir section leaders, Jen Weisgarfer, Kylie Corey, and Chester Beck, with Gregory Schifrin on piano. The cabaret will begin shortly after kinship time. And now, let us settle into our shared time of reflection, celebration, and inspiration. As we begin our worship service, those joining us online are invited to gather your chalice as we join in beloved community. Welcome to worship.
The Unitarian Church of Evanston resides on the traditional homelands of the Council of Three Fires, the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations. Once used by nomadic tribes who shared the Algonquin culture and language, by 1760, the Potawatomi villages populated the land. This land was recorded as being transferred from the local Potawatomi community to the U.S. government in the 1829 Treaty of Prairie du Chien. The government sold the land to white settlers. After decades of violent encroachment by the French, British, and then U.S. American white settlers, and the defeat of a pan-Indian movement to keep white settlers out of the Great Lakes region, the Potawatomi community had no choice but to sell before they were forcefully removed west of the Mississippi River. The Chicago metro area, including Evanston, is now home to one of the largest and most diverse urban Native communities in the U.S., with around 40,000 Native Americans representing over 150 nations. You can read more about this acknowledgement on our homepage under the About tab. We also remember the ancestors of contemporary Afro-Americans, the individuals, families, and networks of Black people who built up our country's culture and economy, a role forced on them originally by enslavement. We acknowledge the intentional violence that landed on North American shores in 1619 has continued throughout the generations and remains a reality today. These acknowledgments are one small effort toward building long-term solidarity with contemporary communities. We commit ourselves to take what we learn here today and incorporate it into our lives and turn our thoughts into actions. Please join in our words of shared commitment. We name these realities with honor for all the ancestors, respect for our descendants, and gratitude for land we use as sacred space.
Kristen Larson and Craig Spadel brought flowers in honor of their 28th wedding anniversary. Wonderful. As they light our chalice, symbol of our living tradition, please join in saying the words on the screen by Paul Spector. We light these chalice for the web of life which sustains us, with sacred circle of life in which we are our being, for the earth, the sky, above and below, and the Mother Earth, and for the mystery. Now please rise in body or spirit and join in saying the words of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Is this yours, John?
Let us turn to one another in greeting before our opening hymn. I invite you, those online, to greet each other in the chat, and those gathered here to say hello to someone you don't know yet. Please stay after the service to continue your conversations. And if you're new at UCE, I invite you to stop by the welcome table with the red tablecloth right in the back by the mural. And you can learn more information about our community. Let's keep creating new relationships and building kinship among us. Vicky's going to introduce our hymn because it requires a little bit of explanation, but you may either rise or stay seated.
I can see that staying seated for this might be nice because they're a little more contemplative, but again, you can do whatever you want. I want to invite you to join in singing hymns 1069, Ancient Mother, and 1072, Evening Breeze, even simultaneously at a certain point. So what I'd like to do first off is just run through Ancient Mother one time. So Adam, if you can go ahead and put the lyrics on the screen. You can see there's a part 1 and part 2, and we'll get to that. Ancient Mother is part 1. Gregory will play it through with us this first time as we sing it. 1, 2, 3. You sound beautiful. Now we'll play through and sing hymn 1072, Evening Breeze. That's number 2 on there. And right now we'll all do it. Ready, and. Lovely. Through the miracle of the Dorian mode, we get to sing both of these at the same time. So this is how it's going to work. You all, from the center aisle here, you're part 1. You get to sing Ancient Mother throughout. You'll be singing it 4 times. You all are part 2, rock, and both parts rock, and you will sing Ancient Mother the first time. We'll all sing it together the first time. Then on 2 and 3, you will sing Evening Breeze, and then we'll come back again one more time and do Ancient Mother. Does that make sense? Okay, good. All right, so we'll start with Ancient Mother first. 2, 3. Ancient Mother.
Ancient Mother.
Lovely, thank you.
You just line up in front. Everyone who has volunteered to be an animal, please come forward and just stand up front here, like over here, Finn. Move to your left, Finn. Finn. Would one person like to be a muskrat? Iris is going to be my muskrat. Sweet. So just stand over here by the other animals. And when you hear your animal called, you just have to hold it up really hard. I know it might be hard for Iris to hold it up so everyone can see. Are we all good? Ready?
This is a story of the Iroquois peoples, about the creation of the earth, specifically the continent of North America, where we are. So high above the clouds, in the sky, a rare and beautiful tree grew. Its delicious fruit and fragrant flowers hung in its branches. Its long white roots spread out, and they were rooted solidly in the 4 sacred directions.
One night, the wife of the chief who lived in the sky dreamed that the huge tree was pulled out by its roots. She told the chief of her dream.
This is a powerful dream, the chief said. The spirits have told you we have to uproot that tree. He called on the young men, and they tugged and yanked at the tree, but they could not make it budge. And so the old chief grabbed at the tree himself with his mighty arms and pulled. Slowly, its roots creaking, the tree began to move. The chief strained and pulled harder, and finally, the immense tree came up and lay on its side.
Clutching a branch of the toppled tree, the sky woman peered into the huge hole where the tree had been. "I see something shiny," she said. As she leaned over to see better, she lost her balance. Her hand slipped from the branch and she fell. Some say she jumped because the blue world below was so beautiful.
Down she spun, with a handful of seeds from the branch still clutched in her fingers. Far below her lay a vast expanse of glittering blue water. In the water, 2 swans, there they are, paddled about. One looked up at the other and said, "Something is falling from the sky." "It's a strange animal," the other said. "Let's go help it."
All the birds, fish, and animals that lived in the water watched as the swans flew up, caught the falling woman on their wings, and gently brought her down.
The animal can't live here, the goose said. She can't swim without webbed feet.
She needs dry ground to stand on, a heron said. Maybe we can bring her some from the earth that lies beneath the water.
The duck was a good diver and said he would try. Down he dove as far as he could beneath the water's surface, but he couldn't find the bottom. The beaver tried, and the loon. Neither could find the earth.
"I'll go," said the muskrat.
If I couldn't make it, you certainly can't, the beaver said with a sniff. I'm bigger and stronger and a much better swimmer.
"Let her try if she wants to," the swan said. They were still holding the woman who fell from the sky on their broad wings.
The little muskrat, swimming, took a deep breath and dove. Through the dark water she swam and swam until she was tired and her breath was nearly gone, and still she kept swimming. Finally, she touched bottom. She grabbed a bit of the earth with her paw, clenched it tightly, and let herself float upwards.
The other creatures waited anxiously. "There she is," the duck exclaimed as the muskrat appeared, gasping for air.
She didn't find the earth, the beaver said.
"She did. She has some in her paw," said the duck. "What are we going to do with it?" the loon wondered.
A voice spoke like the beat of a drum. "I will hold it on my back." It was the turtle, who'd been watching and listening all the while.
The animals brought the exhausted muskrat to the turtle. The little animal opened her paw and dropped the bit of muddy earth on the turtle's shell. And then quickly, faster than the eye could see, the earth expanded and grew until it became all the land in the world. The turtle blinked, but he didn't falter. He braced his sturdy feet and continued to hold the earth on his back.
The swans carried the sky woman to the land and set her down. She dropped the seed she was still carrying from the great sky tree onto the ground. Immediately, green shoots sprouted and plants began to grow.
From those seeds came the first trees and bushes, gifts to all the generations. The turtle holds it up, and in his honor, the people call it Turtle Island.
Beautiful job, everyone. Thank you for bringing that story to life. I invite us now to settle into this time of sharing our joys and sorrows and to quiet our bodies. If you have a joy or a sorrow that you would like spoken aloud, you may write it in this book, which is found at the table right as you enter the sanctuary. You can send me an email, or you can enter it into our Google form found on the homepage of our website. As we listen to these, let us still ourselves by taking in a breath together and letting it out slowly. These are the joys and sorrows that have been shared before the service today. From Barbara Mesley, who had total knee replacement on Wednesday, she writes, "Bob and our dog Rosie are taking good care of me. The doc said I really needed the knee makeover, so thanks for all the love and concern. You, UCE, are really good people." Sarah Vanderwicken shares with great joy, and after 12 years of partnership, her daughter, Alana, was married on Friday. Congratulations. Margie Rogasner writes, "Congratulations again to Mary Beth Roth for her being a vision keeper tonight at the Interfaith Action dinner." Gretchen Brewster writes, "A great joy that Mayor Daniel Biss is declaring October Pro-Choice Month in Evanston, and further promotion of the event next Sunday. Please join us." Jen Weisgarver, dedicating my cabaret performance today to my Nana, who celebrated her 90th birthday yesterday. All my aunts, uncles, and many cousins and cousins once removed were there to sing to her and celebrate. It's wonderful. And a sorrow from Harry Hirsch. Joanne Egbert, the daughter of the late UCE member Judith Ramey, died Thursday. After a lung illness, Joanne's sister Jean said the cause was probably kidney failure. There are currently no plans for a memorial. And I want to just hold the sorrow for the violence and the killings of hundreds of people in Israel and in Gaza, for those who are in the midst of such terror, for the desperation of oppression that brings people to such extremes. And I want to especially hold that Gregory's wife is in Israel now and unable to come home. And we just are holding you and your family with love. If we could just hold a moment with that on our hearts. May there be peace. May everyone there be well and safe and healed from this devastation. Sharing these concerns of our hearts is part of the practice of beloved community. Together we expand our celebrations and we lessen the burden of our grief. And so I invite you now to come forward and light a candle for the sorrows and the joys that are on your heart today, those that may be too tender to say out loud. We're still experimenting with our new candle situation, so I invite you to light the candles that are in the box from the back to the front. Might be a little bit easier that way. Please come forward now, and if you'd like a candle brought to you, please raise your hand and we will do so. Please join in these words. For these joys we give our thanks. For these sorrows we give our love. And I invite you into the spirit of prayer and meditation with this great spirit prayer translated by Lakota Sioux Chief Yellow Lark in 1887. O great spirit, whose voice I hear in the winds and whose breath gives life to all the world, hear me. I need your strength and wisdom. Let me walk in beauty and make my eyes ever hold the red and purple sunset. Make my hands respect the things you have made and my ears sharp to hear your voice. Make me wise so that I may understand the things you have taught my people. Let me learn the lessons you have hidden in every leaf and rock. Help me remain calm and strong in the face of all that comes towards me. Help me find compassion without empathy overwhelming me. I seek strength not to be greater than my brother, sister, or cousin, but to fight my greatest enemy, myself. Make me always ready to come to you with clean hands and clear eyes. So when life fades and as the fading sunset, my spirit may come to you without shame. I share this prayer out of respect and with appreciation. May we receive it with humility and openness. Blessed be. And as we sing our response, our young people, preschool through 12th grade, are invited to head to their faith formation time with their adult leaders. The response is, "There is a river flowing in my soul."
I love that. As we say in our covenant each Sunday, service is our law. UCE is called by our mission, values, and principles to contribute to our community, to form accountable partnerships, and to express gratitude through giving. Today's offering will be shared with the NAACP, whose mission is to secure the political, educational, social, and economic equality of rights in order to eliminate race-based discrimination and ensure the health and well-being of all persons. You may text to give, mail in a check, or give from our website. If you write a check, please indicate in the memo line if your check is for the shared offering or some other giving. The ushers will now come forward to pass the collection bowls down the aisles, down the rows. Please give as generously as you are able, and may what you give bring you joy.
Thank you for your generosity. Today's reading, Remember, by Joy Harjo. Joy Harjo is an internationally renowned performer and writer of the Muskogee Creek Nation. She served 3 terms as the 23rd Poet Laureate of the United States from 2019 to 2022. Remember the sky that you were born under. Know each of the stars' stories. Remember the moon. Know who she is. Remember the sun's birth at dawn. That is the strongest point of time. Remember sundown and the giving away to night. Remember your birth, how your mother struggled to give you form and breath. You are evidence of her life and her mother's and hers. Remember your father. He is your life also. Remember the earth whose skin you are. Red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth. We are earth. Remember the plants, trees, animal life, who all have their tribes, their families, their histories too. Talk to them. Listen to them. They are alive poems. Remember the wind. Remember her voice. She knows the origin of this universe. Remember you are all people, and all people are you. Remember you are this universe, and this universe is you. Remember, all is in motion, is growing, is you. Remember, language comes from this. Remember the dance language is, that life is. Remember.
Thank you. I want to thank Steve and Sally and John for your contributions to this service today and for the conversations that we had about how to honor Indigenous Peoples Day, and to all the members of the Native Communities Solidarity Team. I express my gratitude to them as well. It is our intention and hope that this is not an annual acknowledgement, but something that calls us to deeper understanding, commitment, and solidarity with Native communities and Indigenous peoples every day. As we were putting this service together, we talked about what to focus on and how to speak about Native peoples without speaking for Native peoples. We are all non-Indigenous to North America, and we wanted to speak with appreciation, but not tokenism. We wanted to acknowledge the incredible atrocities inflicted on Indigenous communities and peoples past and present without reducing the multiple identities of hundreds of Native tribes and people to the horrors inflicted upon them: genocide, erasure, violence, boarding schools, and stolen lands. We wanted to celebrate the power and abundance of Native wisdom without presenting that wisdom as something of the past to be romanticized or colonized today. We wanted to honor the innumerable contributions of Indigenous peoples, past and present, which make life better on this planet right now, not as an afterthought, but as essential to the thriving of all life today, all of us, and all the generations to come. Some of these contributions include the cultural traditions of the White Mountain Apache tribe of East Central Arizona, which uphold a system of adaptive land management that restores health and productivity of the ecosystems on the 1.6 million acres for which they are stewards. The wisdom of the Yurok, Karuk, Hupa, and Winton tribes in California, which have practiced cultural burns, or low-intensity fires, resulting in healthier ecosystems that produce more food, medicines, and material for daily life. And the many practices of restorative justice and inclusive, peaceful decision-making, such as the Haudenosaunee Great Law of Peace, created more than 800 years ago, which our democracy is still striving to emulate. Native people have been for millennia and continue to be the greatest stewards and protectors of the land and water we all inhabit. And this stewardship is directly tied to the knowing that we are all connected to and part of one another, the land and all the creatures of the earth. There's a growing land back movement that began decades ago but is gaining traction. Like reparations, it might strike fear among dominant culture. But there is much to learn and much wisdom to be gained by understanding this movement and what it calls the inhabitants of the land to do, especially those of us from non-Indigenous ancestry. There's a set of 13 principles of the Land Back Manifesto, which was published on Indigenous Peoples Day 2020. And some of the principles are: don't burn bridges. Even when there is conflict between groups or organizers, remember that we are fighting for all of our peoples, and we will continue to be in community even after this battle. Move from abundance. We come from a space of scarcity. We must work from a place of abundance. And deep relationships by attraction, not by promotion. I hear this as an invitation towards authentic partnership. Karina Gold, co-director for the Sogoreete Land Trust, a woman-led organization in the Bay Area that works to return Indigenous land to Indigenous people, says in a video titled Land Back, The Indigenous Fight to Reclaim the Lands, quote, "The Land Back movement in the Bay Area is about creating a place for Indigenous people to be able to feel safe, a place for us to pray and bring back language, a re-engagement with the land and the waterways as our ancestors have always told us we are supposed to be, encouraging us to make relationships with our relatives, the plants and the food, sharing those out to community members, whether they're Indigenous or not," end quote. And Shy Barefoot, an activist and member of the Serikaku Apache Nation, in that same video, names several success stories of Indigenous peoples buying back land and managing the land with greater success and resulting in greater ecological abundance than lands managed by the government. And in a recent TEDx talk, artist, scholar, and community organizer of Dene, Cheyenne, and European ancestry, Dr. Lila June Johnston speaks about a 3,000-year-old solution to modern problems. Dr. Johnston begins her talk by naming an idea that emerged during the early days of the pandemic shutdown. You may have thought this yourself. As people stayed home and drove less and pollution declined, some concluded that the earth would be better off without humans. But Dr. Johnston strongly disagrees with this conclusion. She reminds the audience that Native peoples have acted as successful stewards of the land and oceans for many thousands of years. She says, quote, "We were active agents in shaping the land to produce prolific abundance. We expanded and designed grasslands and forests for the benefit of all life, and in many places, we still do these things." We're going to share a few minutes of this TEDx talk to let Dr. Johnston speak for herself in explaining 4 indigenous practices of land management that could benefit the planet today. And I want to point out that she is one of the speakers in this year's Faith in Place Green Team Summit, which is online tomorrow morning. Adam, could you show that video now?
The earth may be better off without certain systems we have created, but we are not those systems. We don't have to be, at least. What if I told you that the earth needs us? What if I told you that we belong here? What if I told you I've seen my people turn deserts into gardens? What if these human hands and minds could be such a great gift to the earth that they sparked new life wherever people and purpose met? I'd like to share with you today 4 important indigenous land management techniques, ones I've identified through my doctoral research in hopes that they might inform and inspire us today. The first is to tap into and align ourselves with the forces of nature. Why try to control the earth when you can work with her? In Southwest deserts, for example, native farmers have leveraged the pre-existing topography of the land. They place their fields at the base of watersheds to catch every drop of the monsoon rains and the nutrients that flow down with them, carried down from upland soils. This alluvial farming technique requires no outside fertilizers or irrigation because all of this comes with the rain. By tapping into pre-existing natural systems, native farmers have been able to cultivate the same plots of land for centuries without ever depleting the soil. Another fascinating land management technique is intentional habitat expansion. Why put plants and animals into farms and cages when you can simply make a home for them and they come to you? For example, indigenous peoples have intentionally augmented grasslands for buffalo by bringing gentle fire to the Great Plains. For millennia, following the grass-burning moon of our lunar calendars, we would transform dead plant tissues into nutrient-dense ash, nourishing the soil and unlocking the seeds of pyroadapted grasses and medicines like echinacea. Over time, this fire would prevent trees and shrubs from taking over the grasslands and would nourish the soil to generate topsoils up to 4 feet deep. Many people think that we followed the buffalo, when in fact the buffalo followed our fire. In this manner, we anthropogenically expanded buffalo habitat as far south as Louisiana and as far east as Pennsylvania. A third strategy I want to mention is to decenter humans, create non-human-centric systems. Why hoard for your own species when you can live to serve all life around you? For example, coastal nations of British Columbia enhance fish habitat by planting kelp forests where the herring lay their eggs. This helps that small silverfish lay even more eggs, rebound in even greater numbers, and both the eggs and the hatched herringfish cascade up the food chain, nourishing so many other life forms, such as bear, salmon, orca, eagles, wolves, and more. Ironically, by seeding this food web and feeding all life around them, coastal nations have greater food security for themselves because they feed the hand that feeds them. The last strategy I want to mention is to design for perpetuity. Design for perpetuity. Why plan for just the next fiscal quarter when we could plan for generations not yet born? For example, tree pollen and ash fall onto ponds for millennia. They sink to the bottom and engrave an ancient story in the fossil record. One Kentucky sediment record shows how Shawnee ancestors took care of a chestnut food forest for over 3,000 years straight. A sudden influx of fossilized charcoal during the same period indicates that they managed it with routine burning of the forest floor. Presumably, this enriches the soil, helps the soil hold more water, and eliminates competing vegetation to boost the immune systems of the trees they selected. Apparently, it worked because it lasted for millennia. What if our systems were designed to last forever?
On to say that it is not enough to simply mimic native practices, but to return some of these lands to their original caretakers. Returning land to indigenous communities, the original caretakers, can take many forms. Land back efforts are focused mostly on public lands and, where it makes sense, private lands, but no one is being asked to give away their homes or churches. Non-native communities need to demonstrate humility and sincere efforts to build relationships with native communities in exploring what land back means locally. I just learned that the Prairie Band Potawatomi Nation is laying claim to lands in DeKalb County, Illinois, that were stolen 178 years ago. Perhaps there's ways for us to support those efforts. Work towards returning land to the original caretakers can begin by simply taking an inventory of land resources and assets and forming connections with local indigenous communities, listening with humility and courage to what is needed or desired, and being open to creative and collaborative solutions. Returning the land could include sharing the land, allowing free use, or providing assets to indigenous communities. It could also mean joining land and water protection movements led by indigenous peoples. Our Native Community Solidarity team has been taking steps to learn what it means to be in solidarity with Native communities, but as we know, relationships move at the speed of trust. In September of last year, you may remember we displayed a series of wet plate collodion tintypes by photographer Joseph Kane in our lobby, which featured contemporary Native people of various tribes and bands, many of whom chose to pose in their Native dress. We invited Joseph and one of the people featured in a portrait, Starla Thompson, to speak with us. Afterwards, Starla worked with Reverend Susan to look at our land acknowledgement and to suggest how we might make it more meaningful and accountable through relationship. Land acknowledgements are a handshake, she said, the first step in building relationships. When the showing of Joseph Kane's photographs ended, he offered us one of the prints to keep, and we are so honored to have Starla's portrait, which is titled "No More Stolen Sisters." It's on the wall in room 2, and I encourage you to go visit it when you have a chance. Reverend Susan created a title card about it, which explains why Starla wears a red handprint on her face. The red handprint is a symbol indicating solidarity with the missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit movement in North America. This movement recognizes the fact that Native American women are up to 10 times more likely to be murdered or sexually assaulted than the national average in the United States and Canada. When I asked Starla what our congregation could do to build relationships of solidarity with local Native communities, she suggested amplifying the voices of Native people, taking actions that support the issues that Native communities care about: stewardship of the land, stopping violence against Native women, advocating for the Indian Child Welfare Act, which incidentally was upheld by the Supreme Court in June this year. As we strive as a congregation to be in solidarity with Native communities, which is part of our core value of building beloved community, we can prepare ourselves by learning about the issues that matter most to our local contemporary Indigenous communities. There is an abundance of resources generously shared by Indigenous peoples. In putting this service together, we found lots and lots of videos and websites speaking to the issues that most call for solidarity and partnership. And so I invite us to practice humility and curiosity, centering the voices of Indigenous people as we build those relationships. And Adam, if you can put I already did it. This QR code, take out your phones if you want, scan this QR code. I've created a list of resources that we all came across while we were planning this service. There's so much more to learn, many, many videos. And I'll also put this link in Friday's newsletter. As we close, I want you to think for a moment about where you feel most connected to the earth. Think about the places where the land feels sacred to you. What if you didn't have access to it? And what if instead we all felt the responsibility of protecting the land and water, not just for ourselves, but for all the generations to come? What if we worked together to nurture the abundance of the earth of this great turtle island for the benefit of everyone? Indigenous peoples and communities are thriving and resisting erasure throughout the world, still acting as the greatest protectors of our land and water. Those of us who are non-native are called to be in partnership. It is time for all people to join as faithful stewards to enact the wisdom of Indigenous people, proven over millennia to be restorative and life-giving. May we be in solidarity with all our relations, understanding we are all connected to each other and to the earth in the great circle of life. Amen, and blessed be.
As we extinguish the chalice, please join in saying the words on the screen by the Reverend Elizabeth Sell Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Our closing hymn is 1068, Rising Green, and this is a little bit of an unfamiliar hymn, so because it's, I'd like to invite us to let the choir sing through the first verse and then listen, take in its beauty, and join in the remaining verses. May we, with humility and empowered by love, co-create relationships of solidarity that truly nurture and protect all life. Now that our worship, our time of honoring what is of worth is concluded, may our service to the great circle of creation begin. And please enjoy kinship time and then join us for our cabaret in about 15 minutes. Go making peace.